I'm not gonna do any intros because I'm really pissed, and we're gonna talk about this. And this is gonna be a video. I've shot this video 4 times. The last time I shot this video, it lasted for 59 minutes, and we're not doing that. I'm gonna break down this video is gonna be about elitism. That's literally what it's gonna be about. It's gonna be about elitism, right? We're gonna talk about elitism, and I'm gonna talk to you about how your pro players that you worship, that say that people in a certain rank shouldn't have an opinion in this game, should shut the fuck up. Did you know? The quick Google search will tell you that one above all in eternity, right, are the top 0.3% of the player base, right? You have 2.8 to 6.3.9 is Celestial, Grandmasters 11 to 15%, Diamonds 15 to 17, Platinum is 13 to 17, Gold is 12 to 20, and when you look at that, Bronze and Silver is 38 to 45%, which includes many players who solely play casual or quick play, which means, in retrospect, almost half of this game doesn't even play ranked. So we're arguing about a competitive game when half of this system doesn't play ranked. One of the problems with junior games in esports is there needs to be 2 separate sandboxes. There's always a pro sandbox and there's always a active game sandbox. In Rainbow Six Siege, whenever there's a hot fix or hot patch in COD, in Valorant, and everything, there's a live build and there's a pro build. You should never, ever balance the game on what pros say. Why? Because they make up less than 2% of the active community. 1. 2, if you balance the game on what the active 2% of the community is, right? The other players that don't play ranked, which is in this game 45% of the players that don't play ranked, or the players that are interested in grinding ranked, stop, right? Because they don't have the skill set, the skill knowledge, the skill value to want to play. A lot of people don't get on this game to sweat. Some people get on this game just to have fun and play their favorite heroes, right? This is a casual game at its core. It's not competitive. And this is the muddy waters that we get into when people want to bitch about it being competitive. Because the same pros that complain about this game needs to be more competitive are the same pros that aren't preaching that we need role queue. Right? Because if they introduce role queue into this game, the player base, again, would savagely drop because the 45% of the people that don't play this game competitively would all walk away because they're only playing this game over Overwatch because they can play whoever they want. They're not restricted in the game. But if you make this game into Overwatch, all the players that are playing this game for the freedom would stop playing this game. That's point 1. Point 2, most of you pro players aren't even as good as you think you are. In every other competitive shooter game, pro players make up if not all, the majority of the top 500 spots in any game that there's a top 500 global ranking leaderboard, right? And Marvel Rivals, 96 of you are in the top 500. So what type of presence do you really have? Yeah, you sit here and you post your videos and you clickbait and you do all this on Twitter and you say the game needs to be changed and people in Celestial and below shouldn't have an opinion. Let's talk about the fact that none of you are Celestial and above if you don't play by yourself. How high would you actually be if you solo queued? If all of you pros solo queued and played by yourself all the way up till you hit 1 above all, how many of you would be 1 above all? How many of you would not be 1 above all? Probably the same amount of you that left Overwatch to play this game because you couldn't compete in a competitive shooter like that. Oh, but the plot gets thicker, right? Because the main guy, Fox, who's talking about imbalance of a character that shouldn't be in the game and he's goofy and he's unhealthy for the game, has been the coach for 7 different teams, and all 7 of those teams, except for Swamp Gaming, which just miraculously placed second, his best performance, by the way, in Pro League, in preseason, who has $350 career earning, I think, is his maximum total, says he knows what's healthy for the game. You don't even know how to coach an esports team. And I'm gonna get real rude and disrespectful because I hate when you guys try to do this thing where you think pro players are better than casual players, where you're not even good enough to be a pro. Dog, you had 7 losing seasons. In any other sport, your ass would be blackballed. Just to show you the parody of this, Amori ran 1 with Sentinels, and she's not a professional pro player right now. You had 7 losing seasons and you're a professional coach. How does that make sense in the competitive world? Oh, it doesn't. And let's get deeper in the weeds about competitiveness since we're speaking about it, right? Where were you guys at when Daredevil got released? Where were you at when Elsa Bloodstone got released? Where were you at when they buffed Star-Lord? Where were you at when they were buffing and nerfing Psylocke? Where were you at when they were releasing Black Cat? All these characters that are must-bans. Where were you at when Gambit was out? All these must-ban characters, right? Where were you at then? Where was the voice then? When was the boisterous opinion about characters being overpowered and balanced then? You guys didn't say shit because you said, oh, Daredevil is a necessary evil for Poke. Whoa, Batman, let me tell you something. Daredevil is a Brawl character. Brawl inherently is weak against Poke. So he's a necessary evil for Poke. But Poke is a direct hard counter to Brawl. And you could get away with the claims that, oh, he's a hybrid character. But you're the same people that argue with Devil Dino's shield cooldown being unrealistic and having too much screen clutter. But a human, Daredevil, who is a human, by the way, being able to deflect projectiles and live just for being in your face. Daredevil is so overpowered that he got insanely touched, and he's still good. He's still considered S tier. By you guys, not by Marvel, but not by the actual Marvel Rivals metric, he's not. But by you guys, he's considered S tier. But by the Marvel Rivals actual meta tracker, he's not, because his win percentage isn't as high as you tell your fans. Elsa is so unbalanced that at this point, they can't do anything else besides ground zeroing the character and taking her out the game. But where was the outrage then? You guys complain about the ultimate, I'll give you that. But that wasn't the core problem that's wrong with her kit. The core problem that's what's wrong with her kit and what's wrong with Daredevil's kit is they literally get sustained and health for doing nothing. But since you want to talk about casual players not having an input on the game, let's talk about finances. Your league is 1 year old. You had a $3 million prize pool for your first tournament. Where do you think that $3 million came from? Probably the microtransactions that people are spending, the skins that people are buying, right? The same 45% of people that you want to alienate against, right? So what are you going to do when they leave? And your esports team isn't being able to sustain you. What are you going to do when you leave, right? When they leave, right? Your esports team still has to pay a fee to stay in the league. But you know what's going to happen? A lot less of you are going to be pros, right? Because winning is going to be put in the forefront. And if you're not winning, you're going to get packed up and sent home. This is the most bitch-made crying community when it comes to professional players I've ever seen, right? Usually pros adapt, right? In Apex, there was they had a whole meltdown at an ALGS about whether controller or mouse and keyboard was balanced. And the game got balanced, right? They took something from each, balanced the game. But you know what pros did while they were waiting? They learned to play on controller. They swapped their input and got better. And they realized that, hey, if I want longevity in this league, I need to learn how to play controller. But you motherfuckers don't want to do that. And you won't do that. You're just happy with losing and being content being second place because you're not a pro. And if you are a pro, you're not a good pro. Most of you, not all of you, most of you are Overwatch dropouts. Most of you weren't good enough to be professional players in Overwatch. So you came over here, you forced professional play, and then you came here to this game, right? The fundamental problem that's wrong with this game is there's a revolving door of issues. Two roles are always clashing and fighting, and one role is never getting anything. And when that one role gets something to make people play that one role, all of a sudden the game isn't fair, right? When you guys were running triple support and triple DPS and people were solo tanking, nobody was complaining about it. Nobody was complaining about the meta then. It was fun. When Bucky is able to chain again and again and again, and you get overhealth and overshield just for existing and hitting your abilities, and you reload your gun at 2 taps every time you hit an ability, nobody was complaining then. But yet, we sit in the practice range and we bitch about why we can't one-hit characters with certain characters, why supports are so strong, why flyers are inherently bad. Because you're training people's brain to think that there's one way to play this game. And Devil Dino is actively changing that. Why? Because he's proven that you guys can't adapt. Because instead of adapting and overcoming, you guys just ban characters instead of finding solutions for them. Because it's easier to ban a character instead of playing against the character. Because you're not really improving skill gap, right? Let's not forget at the core, even with the alt nerf, this game is a ultimate simulator, and most of this game comes down to who is rotating their ults faster. We talk about neutral, and I guarantee all you should watch Paz's video on this, but we talk about neutral in this game and how the game has more neutral, and it doesn't. It doesn't. Because true neutral would mean that if you're not impacting the game, you wouldn't get an ultimate, but people get ultimates for not impacting the game, right? You get ultimate charge for getting damage as a DPS and not getting elims. Isn't that insane? Finals get you less ultimate than damage does. Isn't that insane? And then we wonder why people sit mid behind tanks. Because that's how you want people to play the game. You want people to sit mid behind tanks. You want tanks to walk forward. People to play the same 3 tanks, walk forward, take damage, and die. Like, God forbid, they revert the Magneto changes. God forbid they increase Magneto's rate of fire, they let Magneto do more damage, and they let Magneto actually be a tank instead of a damage sponge. Then Unk out here, he would be happy. Unk would be top 500 every season, shitting on people as Mag, because he would be actually able to play the game that he wants to. And play the style of the game that he wants to, because it's his favorite character in the game. But we're out here discriminating against people's favorite characters in the game when you guys only, at the core of it, play 8 characters. There's 21 DPSs in this game, and you guys in Pro League use 8. And your argument of using 8 is that these 8 are better variants of the other characters in the game, when in reality, the problem with the 8 that you picked are they just are power crap characters, because Marvel Rivals has a really bad balancing problem, right? They don't know how to go back and retroactively balance characters and retroactively nerf characters. They don't know how to do it, right? So each character that gets released is inherently stronger than the character's its predecessor, right? Elsa and Bucky are the exact same character. The only difference is Elsa's health increase is tied to 2 movement abilities. Phoenix and Hela are the exact same character, except for Phoenix has flight. And when Phoenix and Hela weren't the same character before this nerf, they changed them to align them to be the same character. Because statistically, Hela is better. She was until this season. Phoenix actually lost value when you got to higher ranks. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Look up Phoenix last season and the season before and the season before. Look up her stats. Hela actually, until this season, was considered S tier because she had the higher win rate. Oh, but why is that? Why does Hela have the higher win rate? Oh, because Hela actually has abilities that don't let you get away with bad positioning and allow you to have better mechanical skill. Hela doesn't have a teleport that stuns. Hela doesn't have a shockwave that goes forward and stuns. Hela doesn't have infinite flight. Hela isn't able to regen health passively. She's not able to do any of that. She has a stun, she has 2 swords, and she has a fly all on cooldowns. And on top of that, they decreased her damage. Why? Because you guys were complaining that Hela's too strong. I'm getting one shot across the map. She's too strong. She shouldn't exist in the game. Because instead of playing another character, you guys were trying to force Iron Fist and Daredevil and running down the lane and getting headshot. Have you ever wondered why in Marvel Rivals, Ignite Challenger League, or in high-level pro elo play, that all games either go to overtime and it's never a really dominant win by either team? All games are going to overtime. Because at the core, none of you have the individual 1v1 skills to beat each other. You don't. You don't. And you know who proved this? Toothless. When he made it to rank 1 on the global leaderboards using shotgun-only Punisher. But there was no call for Punisher's ultimate getting nerfed. But yeah, we have videos about people complaining about a Dinosaur saying he's too strong. When he's a brawl Dinosaur that gets heavily countered by Poke. But we don't want to play Poke. We want to play Dive because we never want to rotate the meta in the season. It was Dive for 0.5 of the season last season. Well, both seasons last season. All season 7 was Dive. And now, we all of a sudden don't want to play Dive. Or we all of a sudden think that Dive is the best way, the best method to play the game, and it's the best, most skill value way to play the game, and it's not. What happens is, there should be a healthy rotation of the meta, right? Poke should be strong, but not overpowered. Dive should be strong and not overpowered, and Brawl should be strong and not overpowered. Because they counteract each other. Poke is inherently stronger than Dive because Dive players have to either focus on their pathing or positioning to close the distance to get in a Poke player's effective range. Right? But the same people that are playing Brawl characters want Brawl characters to be able to survive and Poke characters to not have any pill so that they can have bad positioning and bad pathing and just beat you up because they think their mechanical skill is better than yours. When in reality, it's not. It is not. It is not. Bucky is incredibly, in my opinion, better than Elsa Bloodstone. Why? Because if you hit shots, it's a 3-shot headshot guaranteed. He can hook, he can grab, he can ground. His ultimate's really good. But you'll never see him on the top tier list. Why? Why? Because you don't get rewarded for having movement or abusing movement. Because that in the core of it, that's all else is doing. All these characters that you guys are complaining about being high-skilled characters aren't really high-skilled characters. They just abuse one thing in the game. They have no counters. And then we get into this whole match where, oh, they should release characters that people know. Bitch, none of you knew who Elsa Bloodstone is. Daredevil in this game is the most inaccurate lore version of Daredevil ever. Since when did metal sticks deflect energy cannon, energy waves? Since when can a man without human strength beat a man made of cosmic rock? Beat a tank that can transform in a diamond. Beat a tank that can literally bend metal. But we don't balance games like that. We don't. Because we don't give a fuck about realism. We don't. You guys are hiding behind that. You don't give a fuck about realism. You just want another overpowered character to be released. You're just mad because your view and your belief is when tanks are strong, the game isn't fun. That's probably why people aren't playing tanks right now, and the actual Vanguard mains are out here suffering and solo queuing. And then the same people that are preaching this narrative get upset when people play off tanks because they just want people to play Strange, Magneto, Groot, and well, now Emma, but Strange, Magneto, and Groot. They don't want you to play Thor. They don't want you to play other tanks, right? They don't want you to play Hulk. They don't want you to play any of these characters on the roster, right? They don't. They want you to play Strange. They want you to play Groot. They want you to play Magneto because they want to be enabled in their bad positioning. Now people want you to play Venom because Dive is meta, but when Dive wasn't meta, nobody wanted you to play Venom, right? They keep nerfing this dude into the ground because he has too much power as a tank. And the reality of it is he's not a solo tank, he's an off tank. And he needed to have that much power because there was no reason you can't play him in a solo tank perspective. This is the most hated role. Why? Because it's boring as fuck. Because this is the role that people try to tell you characters that you should play. TTK plays Angela better than anybody I've ever seen in this game. And in Pro League, instead of nurturing his Angela skill, they want him to play Strange or Tank Pool. His coach told him, you need to play Strange or Tank Pool. Why? Why? Why aren't pros cultivating new metas? Why are we stuck in the same fucking 3 meta slop? Why is it either triple support or triple DPS? Why is it never tanks? Because you guys are selfish. And again, some of you aren't even good enough to have an opinion in this game. Because at your profession, you're not even the best player in your profession. You know how insane that is? That would be like if I walked off the streets, went to an NBA game, and told somebody in the G League, I'll bust your ass for 40 points. That's not happening. Want to know why? Because even on their worst day, a bench player in the NBA on the G League will dog walk your shit. Because the difference in skill is that great. But the difference in skill isn't that great on this game because y'all got y'all shit dog walked by somebody using a character and only using half of his kit. There are pro strategists in the game right now that aren't better than some of the content creator strategists. I have yet to see I've yet to see strategists where I could be like, yep, she's better than Amori or he's better than Amori that are professional players. I've yet to see DPSs that I can be like, yep, they're better than top that are professional players. And those two are ex-professional players. We haven't even talked about the Kingsmans, the pick and rolls, the people that are playing like Magic and shit, the people that are playing all these off-meta characters and shit. We're not talking about Young Bull out there that's playing Iron Fist. We're not talking about him. Nope, we're talking about the same motherfuckers that play the same 6 characters in the game that know about the health of the game. Shut y'all ass up. Y'all don't know shit. Y'all not even good in your own fucking profession. Because this is the real truth, and this is what I'm gonna end this video on. This is the real truth. 45% of you would not be professional players if you had to balance the game the way you wanted to. Because when that 40% leave, plus we'll say all the medal ranks, when that 40% plus however you add up the medal ranks, when that percentage of the game leaves, and you guys get forced to play people that are the same rank as you, and the skill gap gets higher, a lot of you are going to get bumped out of one above all in Eternity and go to Celestial. Right? Right? And then the player base that is funding your esports won't exist. Nobody will be buying skins. Nobody will be buying battle passes. So how are they going to support you getting put up in a hotel? They're not. And you won't know what's going to happen. Your team is going to be like, oh, this is not a lucrative esport endeavor, and they're going to back out. And you're going to become one of those players that is a free agent player that's not playing for a team. And you're going to become a content creator. But the problem is you don't have no personality, so you're not going to be able to be a content creator because people are going to realize that you aren't as good as the game as you actually said you are, right? You're not going to be able to hide behind that window that is your org, the umbrella that is your org, and the following that is people that wake up to see you every day. Because a game has an ecosystem. Pro play and esports can't exist without casual players. And what should happen in a healthy game is pro players and top ranked players should be teaching low ranked players and installing driving low ranked players to drive this game to a healthy competitive loop. But the core issue is this game is seen by most of the player base as not even competitive. Oh, and to top it off on facts, some of you motherfuckers are dropouts from Overwatch because you weren't good enough to play Overwatch esports. But yeah, you can flex on Twitter about how you were a pro in Overwatch, and when people look up your Wikipedia, they'll see you were dog shit. The same guy that's boasting on Twitter about Dinosaur being nerfed is the same guy that has 7 losing seasons as a head coach and has $375 worth of total earnings. Isn't that insane? Imagine in 1 year coaching for 7 teams and being asked at 7 different teams. In the sports world, it's unheard of. They fired Jason Kidd, and that man had 2 losing seasons. You had 7 losing seasons. And you think you have some knowledge in the game because your team finished second in a preseason? Isn't this the same guy that was saying TCK will never reach a skill gap because he's on controller and he's not on mouse and keyboard? I don't think you know what talent is, bud, because if you did, you wouldn't be having losing seasons. You would have been the coach for 5 different teams. Dog, there's 12-year-olds that make more money in a week of Fortnite than you've made in your whole esports career. But we're talking about balancing the game based on you. So next time before you guys listen to these pro players that are talking to you, how about you do a quick Wikipedia search? And you look up their total earnings and what they actually do. And look at the esports that they came before this. And look at the reason, and you start digging back the onion, and you start peeling back the roots and seeing why they're not professional players and they're pro players. And look at games with sustainable esports. And look at how the casual community is kind of the reason why there's a such thing as sustained esports. Fuck a support strike. At this point, everybody who's under eternity should just quit fucking playing the game. Let's let them motherfuckers deal with playing each other every day. And some of those players that y'all worship that are in top 500 would not be in top 500. Because, when skill players have to play other skill players, guess what? They don't like it. It's boring. It's too hard. I shouldn't have to sweat. I'm so sad because I can't pub stomp with my friends. It's always my friends, my this, my that, my team, never I as a player. I'm done, man.